Hello, everyone. This is Sue Simmons of Equinox Family Consulting. Thank you for being here this evening. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about feeling like a bad mom. And I think we've all felt like that from time to time. So again, thanks for being here. Sue Simmons of Equinox Family Consulting. I love my work. Parents that work with me experience fewer and shorter meltdowns and tantrums, better compliance, less anxiety, less aggression, a better connection with their child, and less power struggles and controlling behavior. And I love doing this work. Okay, so let's talk about feeling like a bad mom. I have yet to meet any mom anywhere who has not had this experience, right? It's pretty common. And when we are parenting children with special needs, this feeling can be magnetized times 100, because one thing I know for sure is that we just can't parent our exceptional children the way we can parent a typically developing child. And if you have a child with ASD, then you have probably experienced the fact that typical parenting doesn't work. Our children, are not typical thinkers. They're not typical communicators, and they are not typical students, right? And I remember, I have this very vivid memory of one of the first professionals that I went to see when we were having a really hard time at home. And this person was let go because of what he told me. He told me that I was spoiling my son. And at the time, I was experiencing like unbelievable, relentless meltdowns. And yes, it was very true that I was often giving in to my son to prevent meltdowns. Now, that wasn't all the time, but I was indeed, he ran the show. And this is often the case with the types of kids that I tend to work with, which are generally the level 1 children on the autism spectrum who are quite verbal, and our kids can be so misunderstood. So that's the way my son presented too. So we often feel like we are, we're screwed either way, right? If we don't give in, we get a meltdown. If we do get in, we know that wasn't the best thing to do, but we don't know another way, right? And that is what I teach my clients, is how to do things differently so that we can navigate successfully through these situations that can leave us feeling like a bad mom. And I've talked to so many moms over the years who have said, oh my gosh, I'm just a terrible mom. My kid's at a birthday party, or he's at a relative's house, and he's an angel. And then when I pick him up, he turns into the devil reincarnated. It's like, why does this happen? My child can go and stay overnight with my sister, but as soon as I come back on the scene, my child turns into a beast. Or my child is okay at daycare, and as soon as I pick him or her up, all hell breaks loose. So what is with that? Why do we take so much shit as moms, less so than our husbands do, right? That's what I often hear. And so there's a couple things I want you to think about. So our children, when they are visiting a relative at daycare or, at a lesson, they are often really well behaved. And however, they have to work so hard to keep it together, like really hard to keep it together. And so when you show up, what happens, right? All hell breaks loose. And this is because your child is expending an exorbitant amount of energy just trying to keep themselves in check. So I call it the compressed spring syndrome. And so when you arrive on the scene, that compressed spring goes, right? Your child knows that you are his or her safe place. Okay? So who loves your child most in the whole wide world? Yeah, probably you, Mom. Who knows your child more than anyone else in the world? It's probably you. Who has the strongest bond with your child? Dads, you're always here on the scene, but it does tend to be the mom. You are your child's safe haven. Okay, so when your child gets in the car and turns into a beast, it's because he or she knows that you are safe. Okay, Mom loves me. I can be myself. I can let my hair down and I can just do what I have to do. So for me, it took me a long time to get this, and I really took it personally. And I think that's something that many of us as moms do. We feel resentful. We're trying so hard to help our kids. Why do they shit on us this way? It's not fair. But I want you to try to think about this as somewhat of a backhanded compliment. Okay? If your child didn't feel safe with you, then he wouldn't let it all hang out. Okay? So moms, I know this is difficult, but the next time your child lets loose and that compressed spring, pops open, I want you to remember that your child loves you. Okay, and your child feels safe and loves you so much that they can be exactly who they need to be in that moment. And I encourage you not to react. Okay, I encourage you to look inside and be grateful, if you can, that my child is safe with me. My child feels safe with you. And if you can, just kind of let it roll without reacting and possibly show some empathy by saying something like, oh, you're having a hard time. I'm sorry, sweetie. Your child will feel heard. Okay, and that is often enough to de-escalate things. Okay, so when just like you, when someone acknowledges how you feel, you soften. Okay, so you are the most important person in your child's life. And if you can remember this when the shit hits the fan, and just let your child do what he has to do to calm down, he will escalate much faster than if you react. And things turned on a dime for me once I realized that that's what was happening. And I stopped reacting. And I was telling some moms tonight on a session how the time that was the most difficult for me, that would, when I reacted, would turn the whole night upside down, morphed into a time when my son would come and sit with me just because he wanted to be with me, because he knew that I got it. Okay? So remember, our kids are not from Mars. They are responding to the conditions of their environment, and you are safe. You are a safe place. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you are struggling and would like to tackle some of the things I mentioned, power struggles, controlling behavior, aggression, non-compliance, meltdowns and tantrums, I can help. All right, thank you for being here, and I'll see you again next week for episode 18 of To the Spectrum and Beyond. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.